listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
Hey, John Mclaughlin, the great pollster, is joining us right now. John Mclaughlin helped get Trump elected in 2016, did so much great work in 2020, and now, oh man, it is crunch time. John Mclaughlin, welcome back. How are you?
It's great to be here because Trump's ahead in the polls today, so that's a good thing. So, but if he keeps on staying ahead after July 4th, I got a feeling Biden's going to want to put him in Rikers Island or something like that.
So he's on top. What is this nationally? What do we got going
nationally, here? By the way, he's heading all the battleground states. You had recent polls like Emerson, et cetera. He's ahead in the battleground states. And by the way, Biden, you don't see it because you're in New York, but Biden's spending tens of millions of dollars in these states with ads attacking Trump, and he's been doing it for months since we secured the nomination. So if you're in Philadelphia, if you're in Pittsburgh, if you're in Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, you're seeing all these negative ads, and you're staying with Donald Trump. And it's because people are fed up. I mean, the new poll that we'll have out tomorrow, I mean, you've got in the country right now, you've got 68% of all voters saying the country's still on the wrong track. You ask them if the economy is getting better or worse. It's worse, 62 to 31. 50% actually think we're in a recession because inflation is so high. 84% say they've been negatively impacted by inflation, 49% to the point where they're having trouble affording basic necessities. So Donald Trump's ahead in the polls. He's leading Joe Biden. And whether you have Kennedy in, whether you don't have Kennedy in, and now instead of, the Democrats keep talking about the battleground states, the Trump campaign's expanding the map. We're ahead in Minnesota. We're running even in Virginia. We're looking at New Jersey. We're looking at New York. And New Mexico and other states where we may be able to, get more voters to, give us their electoral votes. And right now you have the incumbent president, Joe Biden, spending a week at Camp David to get himself ready for a debate to the challenger that he issued. So that's how much trouble Biden's in. He wants to debate Donald Trump at CNN in Atlanta, where the moderators are known to be hostile to President Trump, no studio audience, and they can cut off his mic whenever they want.
Yeah, I really have serious misgivings about this debate and why he agreed to these ludicrous terms. How did this come about? I knew he said any place, any time, but I mean, I don't know. It seemed like the Trump team was talking to the Biden team, and they were both talking to CNN. And then this happened. I don't like anything about it. What is this a mistake?
No, it's not a mistake. And you know what? President Trump's prepared. He's ready. He's debated. He did plenty of town halls, and he's debated plenty of times over the years. And Joe Biden, granted, he'll be whatever he was on in the State of the Union when he did that really mean, nasty speech. He'll be back on whatever they had him up on. And it's the voters want. By the way, we have a new poll that we gave to the Trump campaign today, where we asked them, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, what should Dana and Jake be asking about the issues you care about in this debate on Thursday night? And 49% of all voters said their first or second choice was high prices and inflation. 31% said the border and immigration. 21% said economy and jobs. 16% said Social Security and Medicare. Only 15% gave us their first or second choice defending democracy and January 6th, which is, I'm sure, what CNN will ask about first. And abortion was only 12% of all voters, their first or second choice. So the voters really have serious problems with inflation, high prices, the border and immigration, which is related to crime, and the economy and their security in terms of Social Security and Medicare. And that's what voters want to hear about. So we'll see what CNN wants to do. But I think it's an opportunity for President Trump to make his case of not just why he will be a good president like he was in his first term, but he'll be an even better president this time.
So fascinating. Look, he's solid on the issues, all that stuff. But, you see Dana Bash and the other in action. If they hear something they disagree with, they'll say it's not true and they'll cut the mic. I mean, It's incredible what they've done. So I am concerned that they're going to manufacture some sort of incident something that will, look, they're not going to have a fair debate. And when the mic is cut and there's no audience, I mean, your options, you don't have as many tools. So I hope they're being very creative here. But I don't like it. Hey, by the way, the polls, you mentioned he's up in the polls. I don't hear too much about polls right now in the press, actually. Are they ignoring, they're downplaying it because they favor Trump?
Well, it's like the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Georgia's a battleground state, and we straightened out the election laws there. We did that. Late Speaker Ralston requires voter ID, or they passed a new law in 21, which Major League Baseball attacked them for and moved the All-Star game. But you need voter ID in Georgia to vote, whether in person or absentee or early in person. But the Atlanta Journal-Constitution puts out a poll today. Trump's up by 5. And they're saying, well, it means statistically it's a tie. It's like they can't admit that Biden's losing. So, we'll see.
Wow. All right. So look, when you poll people, do you call them on their cell phones? Do you call them on their landlines? I mean, nobody has a landline anymore. I mean, how do you get through to people? And what percentage? I mean, look, not everybody's happy to get a phone call from. I think they unfairly lump you in the telemarketer category. You're not a telemarketer, but I mean, number one, you call on the cell phone, and what do they do when you call them?
That's true. We got to play by the rules. And by the way, I went to Fordham University and I have an MBA there in quantitative methods. So the sampling, you have to be very careful with who you call and how you call. There's databases of tens of millions of voters in the United States. So we know who we're calling ahead of time because they're on a voter list. The only people we don't get on our calls are probably illegal immigrants that Biden's trying to get to vote. But when we call them, most of the calls are made on cell phones. And some are still made on landlines, but not that many. And a lot of times, if the person won't pick up the phone, we'll text them a survey that they could fill out online. So you have the technology has gotten more advanced, and it's getting harder to get people on the phone. But you build a model in the beginning of what a likely voter turnout would be in any given state, like New York or New Jersey, and then you have a voter list of all the registered voters in that state, and you call them and screen them and see if they're, if they're going to make the call, see if they're going to vote.
And they probably get some of them get nasty, probably, right? They don't want to be bothered sometimes. Hey, what do you have a master's in? Quantitative what?
Well, it's an MBA, Master's in Business Administration, but there's a concentration in quantitative methods. At least in the 20th century, when I got my MBA, that's what they had. So,
all right. What advice?
You went to Fordham. You got these tough Jesuit priests that used to, it was tough in class.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I had like 2 priests in my entire time there. It was very secular when I went to Fordham. Very secular. Hey, Donald Trump went to Fordham for 2 years. All right, John. Final word. What would you? And I know you talk to Trump all the time, and he probably is getting more advice than he needs. But what would your final thoughts be as Donald Trump goes into that room? What would you? Or forget that. What would you tell him right now?
Right now, I mean, this is a contest between him and Joe Biden, and he has the better record and he has the more knowledge. But talk to the people out there. This poll that we did for the Trump campaign says the people want to know about what you're going to do to make their lives better. How are you going to solve inflation? How are you going to solve the crisis at the border to keep them safe? How are you going to keep our economy moving, grow the economy?
I got a problem. This is all great advice, but I actually, and we didn't play this yesterday. I have to play this for you, John. Listen to this. So do you remember that town hall Trump had with Caitlin Collins at CNN? It's about a year ago. Trump had a great night. He had a great night, and he was on, and the audience dug him, and it was great. The next night, this is what Anderson Cooper did. He apologized to the viewers for letting Trump talk. Listen to this, the Anderson Cooper apology from the next night.
45% of Hispanic voters prefer Biden compared to 39%.
No. The Anderson Cooper thing. Did you get the Anderson Cooper thing? All right, listen to this, John. Sorry about that. A little futzing around in the tech room. Go ahead.
Good evening. Before we begin with tonight's broadcast, I want to say something about what we witnessed at last night's town hall. Many of you have expressed deep anger and disappointment. Many of you are upset that someone who attempted to destroy our democracy was invited to sit on a stage in front of a crowd of Republican voters to answer questions and predictably continued to spew lie after lie after lie. And I get it. It was disturbing. It was disturbing to see and hear that person refer to a black law enforcement officer as a thug, an adjective he used many times to describe black men, and called Caitlin Collins, the moderator, nasty, which is what he calls any woman who stands up to him. It was disturbing to hear him speak so highly of QAnon conspirators and insurrectionists who assaulted police officers in our democracy on January 6th. And it was awful to hear him spread ridiculous lies about the election. And it was certainly disturbing to hear that audience, young and old, our fellow citizens, people who love their kids and go to church, laugh and applaud his lies and his continued defamation of a woman who, according to a jury of his peers, he sexually abused and defamed. As good a job as Caitlin Collins did trying to fact check him, it is impossible to fact check fully because he lies so shamelessly. Now, many of you think CNN shouldn't have given him any platform to speak, and I understand the anger about that, giving him the audience, the time, I get that. But this is what I also get. The man you were so disturbed to see and hear from last night, that man is the front runner for the Republican nomination for president. And according to polling, no other Republican is even close. That man you were so upset to hear from last night, he may be president of the United States in less than 2 years. And that audience that upset you, that's a sampling of about half the country.
All right, stop. And it goes on. He goes on to saying Donald Trump is running and he's running hard. But you heard the first part. They are apologizing. At one point later, it's a long speech he gives. You would have every right to never watch CNN again based on what happened last night. So they've doubled down on all their, we're going to cut the mic. We determine what the facts are. If we disagree with you, we're going to, like you saw Caroline Leavitt yesterday. That's what I fear is going to happen. It's not even going to be a debate. They're just there to shut him down.
Well, I tell you, he does that again. He's going to have, they do that. He's going to have to apologize again, and he'll have to apologize when we win in November. I mean, the propaganda is unbelievable and the bias. And what a contrast to what you have at ABC Radio. I mean, John Catsimatidis, you all there, you take any viewpoints and you let people speak and you air out both sides. And then you get CNN and their ratings dive because people know that they're full of it. It just doesn't, it's basically, it's like a communist country where you're entitled to only their point of view and not a real point of view. So it's I think President Trump should debate Joe Biden on your show on ABC. It'd be a great radio debate. You wouldn't have to worry about him standing or sitting.
Well, you're right about John Catsimatidis. The team here, ideologically diverse, and it's amazing, and it's actually not a crazy idea at all. I mean, the CNN thing, boy. Well, John Mclaughlin, you're the best. We thank you, and good luck collecting all that data for President Trump. And thanks for being with us.
Well, we got to work hard. We can't take anything for granted until we win in November. So There's a lot of hard work ahead.
All right. Keep it up, sir. Many thanks. All right. Good guy. And Fordham. Yeah, we went to Fordham together. Well, he's a couple of years before me, but good times. Actually, I didn't like college. I really didn't like college. I wish I studied more. I wish I partied more. I wish I did a lot of things different. But I guess that's life, right? I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly.